Sitting at home, do you think I get a phone call from my kids? No. Okay, I think we'll get started here. We'll kick this off. Hi, Sarah. Welcome. The other presenter arrived, so Robin, are you good to go as well? Okay. Very good. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our workshop today. Hopefully we'll get through this in a manner that you are going to be able to understand things and walk away with more information to help you in how it is you want to live in your retirement. So before we get started, I need to do a little bit of housekeeping. Most all of you here already know this, but the restrooms are on your left when you exit the double doors. In the unlikely event of a fire alarm going off, please, there's the exit over here to my left that you can use, and there's also exiting the same way you came in through those double doors and then to the right, and we'll meet in the parking lot to make sure everybody made it out safely. Okay, are there any questions about that little safety blurb before we get started? Okay. The workshop is being live streamed and recorded, so hello to our online people. We wish that you would be here with us, but we're thankful that you're here in any regard. So I'm Denny Kautzman, the lead-off presenter. I'm a retired professional with training and experience in life insurance and investing. I currently serve as the chair of Friendly Water for the World, a local nonprofit that does international work currently in Kenya. And I also serve on 2 investment and finance committees. I will let our other 2 presenters, Charles Butler and Sarah Ketter, give their credentials when they get up here to do their portion of the workshop. And I want to thank the Center for Spiritual Living Olympia, otherwise referred to as CSL Olympia, for providing the venue and the staff and the volunteers that are going to be taking care of us during this time. And we're going to be taking snacks after my presentation. And it's, what, wait, snacks? Yes, we're going to be having some snacks afterwards, so you'll be able to have a little bio break as well as get refreshed with some refreshments. And then we'll begin with Charles's presentation when we resume, followed by Sarah. So, any questions at this point then before we get started? Okay, then we're going to get started, so here we go. Now, let's see. Well, it worked before. Okay, Charles, did the battery go out?
No, there should be a new battery in there.
Now watch, it's going to go through 4 of them.
Might be too far from the actual laptop.
Well, it's right up there. We tested it.
Right side.
Yeah, right side. Oh, there we go. Oh, see, look at there. Too many. We'll go back, I hope. Oh, no, can't go back. We can't go back. I'm just going to go forward, okay? So my portion of the workshop is about the efficient gifting to charities, using your financial assets to do this in a more efficient way. Many of us use after-tax dollars when we're gifting to charity, and that really, there's a much, much better way to do that. So you can keep the money that you've already paid tax on and use something that is otherwise available to you or may be available to you to use. So part of that also, when we're talking about financial prosperity, is the production of financial prosperity. And that's what we're going to get into briefly here, because it has to do with accumulation of the funds and the assets that you would then be able to utilize for charitable gifting. Just wondering, is anybody opposed to learning more about increasing your financial prosperity? No. Okay, good. So we're going to move on from there, and I want to point out that financial prosperity is only one form of prosperity. We're talking about financial prosperity here because we're talking about efficient gifting of that financial prosperity. But you can have prosperity in your lives in health, in relationships, and any other area of your life. So just want to make that a point in all of this. So we're going to get started talking about money. And when we get started there, I want to know what kind of thoughts did you have go through your head when I said money? Was there something that popped up that is a little bit uneasy or uncomfortable? Because what happens is this doesn't work. There we go. So we have some technical difficulties we're going to try to work around. What we do with our belief system is so important in how we experience life. And that belief system starts with what we learned as children. Very well-meaning parents and so forth taught us, and oftentimes we came away with lessons that maybe don't serve us today. So if you had, for example, when I said we're going to talk about money, something about, well, there's never enough, or I always have trouble with money, or I always end up owing more than what I have. Those are the sorts of things that can be affected by your belief system. So let's see if we can get this to work again. So the BS, or the belief system, is what it is that you've acquired during this period of time. And it becomes ingrained as we grow older. We get really good at allowing that to run in the background. And so when that runs in the background, it determines the decisions. Even though we think we're making a decision, we oftentimes end up making a decision based upon what that belief system is, even though we think we're thinking outside the box. So the thing about belief systems is they always affect. We always get the result that we believe. Try this again. So they run automatically. Hello. So here's how it works. And with the actions, this is kind of the cycle that we enter into. We have a belief system which results in an action that we take, which then produces the result, and then we go again to the result, come on, then impacts the belief system. It reinforces the belief system, which then produces the same action, action. And then that, of course, produces the same kind of result that we have, and so on and so forth. So it is a cycle that we enter into. And the only way we can change that is to change our belief system. So with that, there are things that we need to become aware of. So that's the next part of this. Trust me, the next thing was awareness. and with awareness, it's about paying attention. We don't need to beat ourselves up over what it is that we become aware of, but notice it so that you can then identify these things and make the changes accordingly. And it also takes discipline. And discipline, by the way, comes from the Latin word of disciplina, which has to do with learning, education. So it's not a punitive word, it is really about development. So if you would keep that in mind, that is also helpful. So when you start to thoughtfully address these belief systems, you can then make changes to them so that you get the desired results, rather than the results that you end up with that you're not really happy with. So, see if I can get to the next one. The embodiment of your results is based on your belief system, which is reinforced by your action, and you have the ability to change your belief system through knowing a higher truth which supports action, which leads to your desired results. Now, by higher truth, I'm talking about that knowing of what it is that you want to have in your life. And so we need to ask, well, what do I truly desire? I desire this to work, is what I desire. Okay. This is an important question that helps us to become clear about our goals, and it requires that we be specific about it. If it's for retirement security, what does that look like and what would it feel like? If it's to contribute to charities close to our heart, then which ones and how much? If it's for a multitude of things and experiences, what are they? It's imperative you identify your goals and to be specific with them. So that brings us to, what am I willing to do? Because it's going to require action on your part. Well, you're here, so it's obvious that you're willing to take at least that kind of action. And then what about action to overcome the fears that most certainly will arise? There are things that we call these challenges that arise when we try to change our belief system. So when you become clear about your specific goals and you replace the undesired belief system which no longer serves you and take action to reinforce your belief system, it all works together to ensure your success in that. So the challenges part that just skipped by is about what we would call competing intentions. Oftentimes someone will have a desire to, let's just put out there, I want to have $1 million when I retire. And so when you have that as a goal, and it's a very specific goal, and yet you're having difficulty achieving it, it's important that you look at what else is showing up. That's that awareness part. And when you end up with, well, gee, I really need this TV. Oh, this car, I really need a different car than what I've got. So when we have these other things pop up that we then decide we are going to utilize, that's what then becomes a competing intention, and it keeps us from actually going to the intention that we say that we want. Because we will always manifest those things in our lives that we most believe in. So when we have those competing intentions that have more value than what we say, that's what ends up being manifested. Okay, so. Oh, okay, thank you. That'll help. Okay, thank you. So we have someone who's going to be doing our slide advancing, so that's going to help. Thank you. Yes, Lori? An example of what I just said? Well, I gave some examples of somebody who says that they want to have $1 million when they retire, and yet they go out and they buy a new TV, even though they probably don't need one, or a car. And so that interferes with their ability to be able to manifest the $1 million upon their retirement. Okay? So moving on. Yes, the bright, shiny object distraction. We have something over here, and this is nice that we want to have. So just keep it in mind, be aware of it. And if you truly want to change or manifest, I should say, manifest what it is that you want to have, your subconscious helps you to work on that, but you have to have that deep-seated belief that that is going to happen in your life. Then everything else will fall into place. Okay, so this is important. I need to read this because it has to do with the disclaimer that I must say, because I am not a professional accountant or real estate agent or financial advisor. So here we go. I am not an accountant, an attorney, nor a certified financial planner. While I have been a licensed insurance agent and a Series 6 agent in the past, and while I have extensive personal experience with many of the following items, information that I am sharing is not to be considered as estate, investing, or financial planning advice. You are encouraged to seek the assistance of appropriate professionals in those areas of expertise you may require. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So we're going to go through a glossary of abbreviations, and we can just go through them one at a time. The first is a donor advised fund, and it's also one of the most important things that you could use in your tools. A fund maintained and operated by a 501c3 organization on behalf of a donor. You can refer back to these. They're in the handouts so that you have those descriptions. And we'll move on to the next is an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. That is something that most people have that is going to be an often overlooked tool that you have available to you to improve your financial giving to charities. And the next one is an RMD. This is in connection with the IRA, particularly the traditional IRA. And when you get to age 73, they are mandated, currently age 73. If you're born in 1960 or later, oh, this is what we're using. So the required minimum distribution, age 73 currently, age 75 if you were born in 1960 or later. And those are really important in the tax tool chest that you can use, the efficient toolbox. And the next one is a QCD, which is in connection with the RMD. And we'll get into the details of that later. So, following that, we're going to talk about briefly the components of an estate plan. And going through these just one after the other. There's healthcare directive, healthcare power of attorney, durable power of attorney, revocable trust, irrevocable trust. Last will and testament is the last one, and that's the one I will say something about. If you do not have a will, you might want to ensure that you get one because the state of Washington or the state in which you reside has one for you, and you may not like it. Investing, this is where it's going to require a little bit of explanation. With investing, you basically have two types of accounts into which you can put your money. You have a taxable account or you have a tax-deferred or a tax-sheltered account. So also the traditional taxable one is called a traditional account. And next is, these are the things that can go into those accounts. So whether they be a taxable account or a tax-deferred account, you can put all of these things in there. And the ETFs, there's mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and then you can do a focus of whether that's going to be an income-producing one for growth, or a balanced fund. They could be professionally managed, or they could, can you go back a little bit, Michael? Thank you. They can be professionally managed or self-directed. They could have set it and forget it, where you have certain things in there and you just leave it sit. Or they could be occasionally adjusted or actively traded. Those are all different approaches to the investing. The other thing that you can then use for investing are real estate collectibles and others. Now the next slide, thank you. So we're talking about tax-sheltered accounts right now. And the tax-sheltered accounts, if you look on the left side, we have, these are best for immediate tax advantage. There's traditional IRAs, there's 401ks, 403bs, annuities, and 457 plans. Those are the ones that give you an immediate tax advantage. The ones on the right are for a delayed tax advantage, and those are the Roth IRAs and the Roth 401ks. In the center, you get both. You have an HSA plan, which is a health savings account, and you have municipal bonds. And the next slide are actually, you can get more at retireguide.com is that information. So investing, we have traditional taxable investment accounts. And this is where we're going to talk a little bit more about what these accounts are. Most likely they're going to be your individual or joint checking or savings accounts, or they could be your individual brokerage account or your joint brokerage account. Following that then, when the important aspect here is that anytime you have a taxable account, you will end up, if you have dividends or capital gains, dividends or interest paid, you always get a 1099 that is reported then, that you need to report to the IRS. So the reason for that is that it is a taxable account. The only time you pay tax on anything else in those accounts is when you sell the asset within that account. So if you're holding securities of any kind and you've experienced a gain in the value, when you sell it, it becomes what they call a realized gain. It's only on paper until you actually sell it. Then it becomes realized in your account and it gets reported to the IRS as a gain. We're not going to talk about losses and what happens with that because we're talking about how to use the gains that you have in your account to improve your charitable gifting. Okay, so there's two types of capital gains. The first is the gain that is when you've held something longer than a year. And that is a long-term capital gain, and it's taxed at a special capital gains tax rate. The other is the short-term capital gain, and that is taxed at the standard income tax level. So whatever your bracket is when you're doing your taxes, that's where you're going to be ending up. The amount of money that is made on that is actually going to be added to your regular income. Okay? So with efficient charitable gifting, this is now the part of the presentation that I'm doing where the background I just gave you should be starting to make some sense now as to what you can do with it all. So with the efficient charitable gifting, these are the things that can go in there. Okay, real estate, collectibles, and other assets. And with that, we're going to talk after a bit about securities versus cash and why this is important. IRA required minimum distributions, donor advised funds, employer matching funds, life insurance. So, starting with this, the first is the real estate, collectibles, and other assets. The IRS allows almost anything of value to be put into these accounts. So, starting with this list, this is a partial list. Real estate, collectibles, cars, boats, aircraft, jewelry, gems, paintings, antiques, other objects of art, business interests, securities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Business interests is an interesting one. They can actually value the business, and you can put that into an account, and it becomes a part of that account that you can actually have in there. So, yes, Lori. These are collectibles and things of that nature. So if you had a collectible car, yeah, you could actually put a collectible car into an account like that, hold it into an account. Okay, so securities versus cash. Capital gains taxes. Now we talked about the capital gains if you sell something in an account that's taxable. Capital gains taxes are eliminated when you contribute long-term appreciated assets directly to a charity instead of selling the assets and donating the after-tax proceeds. Now, this should make sense to you because if you sell the asset and then donate the proceeds, you'll pay tax on what you just sold based upon the gain that you had. And then if you donate to charity, you'll get a deduction if you can itemize your deductions, but the two do not offset one another. You're going to get a better benefit by making the donation directly to the charity. Your tax is always going to be more than the deduction you get. Okay? So IRA required minimum distributions. As I mentioned, age 73, when these start to happen, what you can do with these is that the money in the IRA is tax deferred, which means that all distributions, including the RMDs, become taxed as regular income. And if you use an RMD for your gifting, you're using after-tax dollars. So if you receive an RMD and then you're gifting from that, or you're gifting from your, say, your checking or savings account, and you're just taking your RMD, that after-tax dollar money that you're paying tax on is being then given to charity. If you make a direct contribution from the IRA to the charity, it skips that whole process. You eliminate the tax entirely. It goes directly to the charity, they get the full value, and it's clean, it's simple, and it doesn't impact your taxes. And that, when you do that, that is called the QCD. That's the charitable, the qualified charitable distribution. Okay? And, oh yes, and that. So if you're starting at age 73 with the required minimum distributions, are we going back and forth with the curtain? So if we start with that at age 73, the cool thing about the QCD is you can start that at age 70 and a half. You don't have to wait until 73. Okay, we'll get there. Da-da-da. Yes?
What about if you're not 73 yet?
If you're not 73 yet, so long as you are 70 and a half, you can start QCDs from a traditional IRA.
So if you're younger than that,
If you're younger than that, you're out of luck. But there are other things, and we're going to cover them. There are other things that you can do to your advantage. Okay. So we're going to look at donor advised fund, and this is one of those things that you can do no matter what your age is, because it's not dependent upon age. A donor advised fund can maximize your charitable gifting, flexibility, and the tax planning deductions, even while allowing your funds in the donor advised fund to be invested with the potential of additional growth. Okay, we'll get it cleared up. Hang on. If you're in a high tax bracket, a donor advised fund can turn your high tax bracket into an advantage. Now, hang on, I'm going to share with you how this works. Donor advised funds are actually in and of themselves charitable organizations, and they're set up by companies such as Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, and so forth. And there's a multitude out there. All you have to do is do a search online for donor advised funds. They all have different minimums and requirements, and you can find out all of those different things as well to determine which one would be the best fit for you. They also have different things into which you can invest your money once you have donated to the donor advised fund. Here's the cool thing about the donor advised fund. You can lump together however much you want in order to qualify for tax deductions by itemizing, because as we know, the standard deduction is increasing all the time, and it's getting harder and harder to itemize deductions. So if you bunch together over several years, or you just make a lump sum that is large enough to overcome the standard deduction, that allows you to then itemize. So you get to take all of those things that you just donated into the donor advised fund, plus anything else that you have given that would qualify as deductible, and those can all then be listed when you do your itemization. So it's an important tool that you can use for that purpose. And the donor advised fund, you can put anything that the organization allows. Some of them will allow collectibles. Some of them will allow artwork. Securities certainly can be donated to them. They'll always accept cash. And the way it works is that the value of those is totaled up, and that is the amount that you get to claim for your deduction. So if you have $10,000 in securities and you've got collectible art worth $20,000, you get to total that up. It goes into the donor advised fund. It's immediately liquidated to come up with the value that you then get to claim for your deduction. And then once it's liquidated, you can invest it in whatever they have available, and you then determine when and how much and which charities get to receive the money that you have in there. And there's no requirement as to you have to do this much every so often or anything like that. It's entirely up to you. So you don't get the deduction when it comes out because you've taken the deduction when it went in. Just that's an important point to remember. Any other questions on donor advised funds at this time? Okay. And the last note on there, I mentioned the donor advised funds are actually charities in and of themselves. But there's currently no way to take an RMD and change it into a QCD to put into a donor advised fund. You can do it with any other qualified charity. You can take an RMD, and as a QCD, it goes to another charity, but they don't currently allow it to go into a donor-advised fund. Congress is working on legislation right now to change that would allow you to take an RMD and make it a QCD into a donor-advised fund. So that's something that may happen down the road. Okay, employer matching funds. This is like, if you're still working, check with your employer as to whether or not they match charitable contributions. Many of them do, and that's like, especially if they're giving dollar for dollar, that's like 100% return to the charity from what it is that you've donated. So it's worthwhile to check out with your employer whether or not they match funds. Next one. Life insurance. Yes, life insurance can be used for a multitude of things, including charitable deductions, charitable gifting. So we have an example. The center here actually received a policy from a donor, and it had cash value. And so the donor got to claim that as a deduction, but above and beyond that, the employer of the donor matched the contribution. So the cash value of the policy resulted in doubling the benefit to the center. So that worked out pretty well. So life insurance, especially if you want to leave a legacy gift, and if you are a younger person especially, because insurance is much less expensive for younger people, it allows you to do that in a way that can truly be a legacy. Right? Pardon me? I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you. No, gifted during the lifetime. Thank you for the question, though. Are they dead when they give the money? They can be a beneficiary, yes. And so that is one way to do it. But if you're doing it for your gifting purposes, what you would do is you would actually transfer the ownership to the charity. And then the charity has complete control over that asset, and they can liquidate it. They can continue to pay premiums on it, whatever the situation is. Multitude of opportunities to be able to set it up so it's to the benefit of both parties, the donor as well as the charity. And the next one. Ah, yes. This is my final. So let's see, there was, we had someone present at Rotary the other day. Charles was there. He knows what I'm talking about. We had a superintendent of schools, and they were having technical problems as well. And the MC got up there, and he was listing all of the credentials of the superintendent, all of the things that he had, and he just said, improvisational speaking. And he says, oh, that wasn't on there, but he actually ended up earning that one while he was doing his talk. So, you know. So the last part of this is to bring us back to why we give. There are quite a few large charitable organizations that have plenty of money, and maybe they need your gift, maybe they don't. But that's not the whole point of it, is it? The point of it is the circulation of giving and receiving. And never to underestimate the value of your gift, not only to the recipient, but to yourself as well. So when we participate in that, we end up receiving as well. Regarding what we talked about with the charitable gifting, the real questions that you need to ask are you paying tax on appreciated assets when you sell them, and then gifting from those? Are you receiving RMDs, paying tax on that, and then gifting what you have in your accounts? Or are you taking advantage of these things such as converting an RMD to a QCD, taking assets and putting them into a donor-advised fund, getting a tax deduction for that, and then giving to charity from that? You're then allowing yourself to keep the after-tax dollars that you've already paid tax on, instead of giving them out, and then you get more money that you now have to pay more tax on. So use those tools to be able to complement your your planning, and you'll end up with more money you're able to then keep for the needs that you have in life and retirement. Okay, so before I take any other questions, I want to thank our sponsor, Center for Spiritual Living Olympia, and the volunteers and the staff that made this event possible, and also for the participation of the upcoming presenters, Charles Butler and Sarah Ketter. And I know that you're going to get an awful lot of benefit from them. So we have time for questions now. If anybody else has any questions, we can run our mic around so everybody else can hear what the questions are. Do we have any online yet, Robin? Not at this time. Okay. Anyone in a comment? Okay.
So when I had my taxes done, and I was giving the charitable donations through my, what's that thing called, QCD?
QCD?
QCD. I was told they would not accept any of my donations unless the money was sent directly to the charity, and they sent me a receipt, and I had to have those receipts that were printed from the charity with the amount of money, otherwise it didn't count.
So did I hear you correctly? You said that the IRS wouldn't allow something because if you didn't have the receipts from the charity?
Correct. The people that were doing my taxes.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about it. If you're using an RMD, which is a taxable event, and you convert it to a QCD, it doesn't become a tax-deductible event. It becomes an event where you don't have to pay tax on it. And the IRS would receive that from when that is done. If you used a security for that, obviously in an IRA you would have had something invested that was then gifted to the charity. What the way it actually works is it's liquidated in the account. So if you say you're going to give $500 of an RMD, and it can be broken up. Whatever your RMD is, you can give to multiple charities just so it totals that or more to qualify. So let's say that you've got an RMD that is $2,000. You can divide that up, 500, 500, 500, 500. That's fine. But it gets liquidated in your IRA, and then you've directed the IRA to send it directly to the charity. And what happens is that that your brokerage firm then sends you the documentation and the information to the IRS that you had an RMD that was satisfied, but it was a QCD, so on that return, it does not become a taxable event. You don't get a deduction for it because you got the deduction of the money that went into the IRA. But the money that came out, you did not have to pay tax on it. And the IRS gets notified of the type of distribution that is so that you don't pay tax on it. Okay? You would have had that from the IRS from the statement that was made. Your accountant would have taken that information from your combined 1099. Okay.
It's like if in order to get the deduction for a donation, in order to get the deduction for a donation to CSL Olympia, I have to have a receipt from CSL Olympia telling me thank you for your donation. And I give that to the IRS or my accountant, and then I get the donation.
Yes, and that's from
Deduction.
a taxable account. That's not from an IRA. Okay? IRAs are treated differently. So when you have a taxable account, or even if you did this from your Roth, and it wouldn't make sense to do it from your Roth, okay? Because if you get money from your Roth, thank you, Buffy, it would be a tax-free amount that you would get. So why would you use tax-free money to make a donation to a charity? You can, and you can claim a deduction for it. But if you use the taxable portion of an account, if you have a taxable account, instead of paying capital gains tax or income tax on liquidating what is in that account and then giving it to the charity, you bypass that. So you avoid the taxation altogether. It goes to the charity, and you get the deduction for it on top of that. And I almost forgot to mention this. When you donate a security to charity, for example, I talked about long-term and short-term capital gains. The deduction that you would get to take depends upon whether it is a long-term or short-term capital gain that you would have experienced if you sold it. So if you're holding a security in a taxable account and you donate it to a charity, if you held it, let's say that the value of that was $5,000. And you donated a security to the charity, it's worth $5,000. If you held it longer than a year, it would be a long-term capital gain definition. You would get the deduction of the value, the appreciated value of that donation. That would be the $5,000. If, on the other hand, you held it less, either a year or less, that's the definition of a short-term capital gain. The IRS treats that a lot differently. So you always want to make sure you do the long-term capital gain, because with a short-term capital gain, you only get to claim what you paid for it. So if that $5,000 value security, you only paid $1,000 for it, you only get to claim $1,000 if you've held it for 1 year or less. So when transferring to a security, anything that is from a taxable account, make sure that you're looking at securities that you've held for longer than a year in order to get the maximum benefit from it. Okay, any other questions? We're going to take a short break, about 20 minutes. We have snacks and everything out there for you. And the only thing we ask is that you respect the CSL Olympia's policy of no food or drink in this room other than water. And we'll start again shortly with the next presenter, Charles Butler. Thank you. The best laid plans. Michael, you can go to the next slide on that too. It'll be the first slide of Charles. That would be awesome. Thank you.
I'll be the rose between the thorns.
Yes.
I heard that and I agree with that.
Yeah, see, you're not going to get any argument from anyone around here.
Yeah. Okay, we need to get the best looking one in, so we'll get Sarah there. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We'll do one more. 3, 2, 1.
raining, this is a good
Yes.
feeling like we're in nature.
Yes.
It's gonna have willow tree, right? It's coming out. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
It's like, is it real?
No.
No. And I looked at
Like,
them
dang,
and I thought,
Charles.
wait a minute.
Maybe I'll equal auspicious to you.
My willow tree right now is like blooming right now. It's all coming out green. I'm like, oh no, come on. It's another nightmare. It's a beautiful tree, but it's a mess to clean up.
My husband bought a cherry tree and didn't realize you've gotta have at least 2 cherry trees or you're never gonna get anything. You have to
Oh,
cross
yeah.
pollinate.
Yeah.
His sister was like, what are you thinking? You gotta da-da-da-da-da. I'm like,
Test, test. Oh, that's a loud one, huh? Can I use the, these? Test, test. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah. That'd be perfect.
He's got them all.
Yeah.
He's got them all straightened out.
Oh, Will, I actually have an estate plan that does all that. So I can do that too as well.
Okay,
Yep.
how am I gonna get that? Is it in your pocket?
No, do you have my card?
I don't, but I saw it out
Yep,
there, I'll go
perfect.
get it.
Is this everybody? Oh, okay. I can start singing if you guys want me to. Test, test. Yeah. The 80s, Rebel Yell. Oh, okay. All right, it looks like they're still coming in. All right. All right. Good there.
Yeah, you do have it working now. What'd you do, dude?
I just magic in no, we'll see. Yes, consciousness. Got it. That was good. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate everyone coming in here today, taking the time to sit down and kind of listen to our presentations and our education on retirement and retirement strategies, and also resources that's going to be available to you and to your other family members. First, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Charles Butler. I'm a retirement mortgage advisor and a Washington State real estate instructor. Work with New American Funding. And before I get started, I'm just going to give you a little bit about my background. So I've been in the mortgage business now since 1998, 28 years. I was born here in Seattle, raised in Olympia, graduated from North Thurston High School, and right after high school, I went to school for Evergreen State, and then went down straight to California. I went down to California, lived down there for about 25 years, lived in my car for 2 years, working 3 jobs, trying to make a living, trying to enjoy the sun, get suntan, and that sort of thing, but work is always work. I got hired on at Walmart as a cashier, and this is how I got into financing. Started at Walmart as a cashier, and it was a brand new store. It's at Full Hill Ranch, California. I was young, and well, after a couple weeks of cashiering, the store manager came up to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to promote you to be a customer service manager because you're really good with people and you know how to talk to them and you basically have no arguments, and let's get you a promotion." Like, all right, great. So got promoted to customer service manager. That only lasted for about a year. And then I got another promotion saying, "Hey, going into department manager." So I was a department manager at Walmart for housewares. I did that for about 2 years. And then he came up to me and says, "Hey, we're looking for an assistant manager position. Would you be interested?" I'm like, "Oh boy, okay, sure." So I did that, and I did assistant manager work. I worked overnights and learned a little bit of Spanish. And I had a great time unloading trucks. It was hard labor, cleaning the floors, learning Spanish. But I was assistant manager. Had a great time. But I was working long hours, 12-hour shifts. Early in the one day, early in the morning, it was around 9 o'clock, I had a customer that came in. She came up to me and she goes, "You know, I come in here about 3 or 4 times a week, and I always wanted to talk to you." And I said, "What's the main reason why you want to talk to me for?" She goes, "Because I think we'd love to have you come work for us." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's great. What do you do?" She goes, "Well, I'm a processor. I'm a loan processor working at a mortgage company. Would you be interested in working for a mortgage company?" I didn't know what mortgage was. I was just like, "Hey, I'm a workaholic. I'm a laborer. I'm out here on the floor helping clients out and doing customer service, handling issues and complaints and bathrooms, closings." So I was handling those. So I said, "Sure, I'll come in there and interview." So I went in, got hired on the same day. I didn't know nothing about the mortgage business, but I wanted to start from ground zero. I was young, and I heard a lot of people can make a good money in the mortgage business. Now, remind you, this was back in 1998. Things were popping, right? Market was good. People were refinancing. People were making a lot of money. So I started out just taking hand apps, just talking to people, just like what we're doing right now, but over the telephone, just taking hand applications, passing them off to the loan officer, and the loan officer, called the client and said, "Oh, we can help you out." I did that for 2 years straight, day in, day out, taking 20 to 30 applicants every single day, even on Saturdays. After that, the owner said, "Hey, would you like to become a loan officer?" I was like, "Okay, well, let's add more stress to my life. Okay, sure, why not?" So I went to become a loan officer. I was trained for like 90 days to maybe 120 days, sitting with a high producer loan officer. Taught me all the ins and outs of mortgages, how to contact people, how to look at credit reports, how to calculate income. So after that, I enjoyed it. Hey, I saw my first paycheck. Oh I couldn't believe it. And I've been in that business ever since then. So today what I'm going to talk about, and I'm not here to sell you on anything. I'm not a salesperson. I'm an educator. And today what I'm going to talk about, there's something that no one likes to talk about, and that is called reverse mortgages. How many of you in here have heard about reverse mortgages? Raise your hand. Oh, everybody, right? Okay. How many of you in here own a home? All right. How many of you in here heard bad things about reverse mortgages? All right. Okay. So today, my job is just to kind of do some education because a lot has changed over the years. They have gotten a lot more safeguards, more protections in place to protect the homeowner, protect the lenders, and most importantly, protect your family. Now let's see if we get this clicker to work, huh? Oh, look at that. So over the years, we take a look at this here, 62 plus. So with the reverse mortgage, To qualify for reverse mortgage, you have to be 62 years and older to qualify, and you have to be a homeowner, which I'm going to go over that in a little bit. But I really want to give you statistics about the demographics, because over the last few years, we're getting a lot more seniors in place, a lot more people that are over 62. In fact, did you know that 10,000 people turn 65 every single day? That's a lot, huh? Did you also know that kids now these days, or young adults, they're not having any children, right? Anybody know why? Not having sex. Well, that's a main one, yes, not having sex, that's good. What else? Cost, right. What else? Future, there we go. Right there, cost, future, because they're worried about what's going to happen later on. It's too expensive to raise a child now these days. So right now, we're looking at this chart. Since a lot of you are homeowners, how many of you have equity in your home? Okay. Did you know that in the United States, as of December of 2025, there are $18 trillion in untapped home equity in people's homes right now across the United States? What do I mean by untapped? Means that money just sitting there not being used that you can use, and people don't know how to use it. So today I'm just going to talk about how to use that equity. So $18 trillion, that's a lot of money, right? So here we go. Well, the baby boomers are aging, right? So like I mentioned, 10,000 baby boomers do turn 65 every day. And they're projecting by 2030, the entire baby boomer generation will be 65 or older. What's that going to happen, you think? Any suggestions?
Major impact on the health system.
There you go. Major impact on the health system, Social Security. And I'm sure everyone has heard the rumor that their Social Security by 2035 is going to be depleted. That's what they keep saying. We don't know for sure, but they're trying to avoid that. What's that? That's the rumor, yeah. The way things are going right now. So they're trying to rebuild that up so that we don't run out. And it's scary. It's a scary part. And again, active adults right now, 11.58 trillion in home equity. And they're saying 45% of boomers have no retirement savings. That's pretty scary. No retirement savings. So out of the 55% that do, have less than $100,000 in retirement savings. So let me ask you this. We all know what's going on in the world right now. We got war going on. Everything is up. Look at gas prices, right? Washington State gas prices is over $5 a gallon in a lot of areas, in most areas. California's over $6. Washington State is the second highest in gas prices right now in the nation. With that, when you got food prices up, you got property taxes are increased too as well, right? Your homeowner's insurance premiums, prices gone up. But guess what else goes up? Anybody know? Your value of your home, right. But what also, if you're on fixed income, that doesn't go up, does it? May go up, Social Security may go up a little bit because of the cost of living, but not very much, right? How many of you right now are collecting Social Security? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are you collecting Social Security and pension? Great. And those are on fixed income, is that correct? Yeah? And it's right now, I'm sure you guys are feeling the pinch. You're feeling the pinch on everyday life. Food, gas, travel. Christmas is coming around the corner, right? Christmas is around the corner. Easter first, yeah, Easter, and then Christmas, and, presents, birthdays. Every single month there seems to be a holiday. And it's hard especially for seniors that are on fixed income. They're pinched, right? They don't, where that money is going to go. They got money coming in, but not enough, too much is going out. But, so what a lot of people, a lot of my clients, what they turn to is, what's the second thing that they turn to besides their home? Investments, credit cards, right? People take out credit cards. They like, you know what, this is a low interest rate. I'm going to take out a credit card and buy Christmas presents with that, and that's great. But what they don't understand that is a credit card, you're still making payments. You still have to make payments every single month. There you go. And does anybody know what an average interest rate on a credit card is? What's that? I hear so many. What's 25%? Yeah. 25%, 20%. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, I'm sorry. It just, you know, that's a high interest, right? That's a very high interest. How can you make a payment? How can you live when you're making a 25% interest making a payment on that credit card? Do you know what mortgage rates are now these days? Anybody know? How much? Okay, close to about 6%, yes? Yeah. And unfortunately, based on the way things are going right now, they're just going to keep increasing a little bit, just like our gas prices. Because mortgage rates has a reflection on oil. When oil prices go up, gas prices go up, food prices go up, guess what? Credit cards, interest rates go up, auto loans go up, mortgage rates go up, which makes it harder for you to borrow. So, the average, and again, approximately half of the retirees will live off their Social Security, which we all agreed. The average life expectancy in the United States is 76 years old. Now, that has changed, and that's, I hate to say this, male, you know, we kind of like 76, maybe 80, 85, and that's it. Women live longer, they say. Statistics, they say women live longer. But now, we have better medicine, right? We have better medicine, better technology so that people are living longer. But what's not really keeping up with them is their income and their bills. And it keeps adding on. A lot of clients that I talk to and what I focus on is seniors. And I've been doing that for over 20 years, just talking to seniors, is that everything goes up. Prices going up every single year. Your income is not going up. And it's getting stretched and stretched and stretched until where you have nothing left. And then guess what happens? You get sick. No, absolutely, you get sick. You get to, you get sick. Then, kids will have to come home and take care of you. Everything else, or you move in with your kids. So a lot of things is adding up. And 76, and they're saying here, 76% of those who are 50 plus wants to age in place. How many of you want to age in place? I think everybody does, right? I mean, your home is your biggest asset, am I correct? You have memories there. You're creating memories. You have memories. You built it. You worked hard your entire life of, building your home, your legacy, putting money into your retirement accounts. So, here's my question to you, is are you guys meeting your financial goals right now? Are you happy right now? Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with where you're at? Because I can guarantee you a lot of the clients that I talk to, they're not. They said, I want more. What can I do to make a difference? How can I change my income? How can I do home improvements, change my lifestyle? Well, with that, as millions of Americans reach retirement age, many are financially unprepared. They don't know where to go. They're living off their credit. All these years, they're living off their credit. But if your credit's maxed out, guess what happens? And guess who you have to turn to? Your home, right? So I always say this, have your home pay you back because you deserve it. So the next thing I want to talk about is a reverse mortgage, and what is it? And I know a lot of people, that I talk to, like, well, reverse mortgages are really, really bad. And again, they have changed over the years. They got more safeguards, more protections in place, protects you, protects your heirs, protects the lenders. And it's not a last resort anymore. In fact, a lot of financial planners are now switching over to reverse mortgages because it's another tool that you can utilize using your own home to pull equity out to pay off debt. So reverse mortgages Reverse mortgages, what it is basically taking the equity that you have in your home, converting that into the cash to do whatever you want with. Most of my clients that I talk to, and they want to pay off their existing mortgage, eliminate the mortgage payment. But with the reverse mortgage, you don't make any payments. There is no mortgage payments with the reverse. Long as you live in your home as primary residence, you take out a reverse mortgage loan, you not make any mortgage payments at all. The only thing that you are required to do is to pay property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, but stay in your home as your primary residence. And how does it work? Well, it's pretty much simple. What's that? Comes with clothes, right? Comes with... Oh, yes, yes. Yes, it does come with nice clothes. Yes, we like to make it beautiful. So reverse mortgages is, again, their main goal is to really to pay off debt, to pay off your existing debt, to have no mortgage payments whatsoever. When you're in the retirement stage, what is the first thing that we always want? What is our main goal when you're in retirement? Travel. What's that? Travel. Good. What else? You're a homeowner. What's the first thing that you want to do when you retire? Get rid of debt. Okay? And get rid of debt mean pay off your mortgage, right? Eliminate that. We work hard, right? You have a 30-year loan. You're paying now, let's say, $2,000 a month in your mortgage payment. You're 65, 70 years old, and you got a 30-year term on that, and you got another 20 more years to go. It gets kind of brutal, right? Yeah, and you have all this equity in your home. So with the reverse, you don't have to worry about making that mortgage payment. The goal is to eliminate that mortgage payment. But what if you have no mortgage? Okay? Can you still get a reverse mortgage? Oh, absolutely. You can get a reverse mortgage without having to pay off an existing mortgage. You can actually use a reverse mortgage to pay off your existing debt on your credit report. Or maybe travel. Or maybe go buy an RV or something like that. Or buy another piece of property. Or, which a lot of clients are asking me now doing, is to buy an ADU to put it on their property. Anybody know why? Income, correct. Yeah, ADU. It's a little tiny home, and you put it on your property, and you can rent that out, and you make it some extra income in. There you go. Yep. Yep, it's an accessible dwelling unit. It's an ADU. So it's considered kind of like a tiny home, and you put it on your property, and you can rent that out, and you get a little bit extra income. And that's what a lot of now these days people are doing. They're taking out these loans to get an ADU to make some extra income a month. And what's the main reason for that? There you go, economy, right? And look at where things are right now. So yes, so the monthly payments, again, they're optional, but it's not a requirement. I have some clients that do make payments on reverse, but it's not a requirement. And I'll explain why they do that. And basically, how you pay off a reverse mortgage is very, very simple. Since there's no mortgage payments, it doesn't go on your credit report, and I'll explain credit in a minute, but it doesn't go on your credit report because there's no mortgage payments. So how you pay off a reverse mortgage? Well, how you do it is by refinancing or you sell the home, and that's how you pay off a reverse mortgage. Just like any traditional loan. How many of you have a mortgage right now? Raise your hand. Okay. So you have a mortgage, and you're making payments on it. How are you going to get rid of that payment? You either refinance or you sell the house, and you downsize or whether you need to do. Same thing with the reverse. To pay off the loan, you have to either sell the house or refinance, and you can pay off that and right size or downsize and do whatever you want to do with the reverse. It's your money, it's your loan. And whatever you don't use goes right back into your equity. So, this is the important part of my presentation, which I like to do, because it has safeguards. Remember what I mentioned earlier that reverse mortgage has changed over the years? Well, they have. I'm going to give you a little short story. 1961, in Portland, Maine, a woman went down to the bank, and she asked the banker, she goes, I just lost my husband. I have no income coming in. I need to have some type of income because my husband was the only sole provider. What can I do? I don't want to lose my home. My home everything matters to me. The banker says, well, this is what we can do for you. We'll give you some loan based on your property value, and then whatever you don't use, we'll put right back into your equity. How much do you need? She goes, I don't know. How much can you give me? I have bad credit. I have no income. Now, the banker says, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We got you covered. We'll take your equity out. You don't have to make a payment on this, but you do have to pay us back. Well, how do I do that? How do I pay you back? Well, when you pass away or you sell your house. Oh, okay. Well, as long as I don't have to make a mortgage payment and I get the money, I should be okay. Yeah, great. That's happened in 1961. Since then, reverse mortgages has changed. In fact, how many of you remember what happened back in 2008, 9, 10, and 11? How many? What happened back then? Go ahead, sir. Yeah, the mortgage bubble, right? Yeah, the mortgage crisis. I mean, their interest rates were high, property values plummeted, people were losing their homes left and right. They were just, yeah. But what was another reason why people are losing their homes? Anybody know? Besides the interest rates being high, besides the property values plummeting, what is another reason why people are losing their homes? Yeah, overextending themselves. There we go. Also, education. Back then, a lot of loan officers didn't really educate the clients on how these programs work. They really didn't. They didn't understand it. In fact, a lot of them still don't understand how this program works. And this is a great program because it's changed over the years. It's got a little more safeguards in place. And people lost their homes back in the day because they didn't pay their property taxes. They didn't pay their homeowners insurance because they were told not to, And that's put in a lot of people in a lot of trouble. So a lot of people went into foreclosure. And what happens when you go into foreclosure? What happens to your credit? It tanks, right? Yeah. I mean, same thing if you go to bankruptcy. File bankruptcy, yeah. Your credit scores drop a little bit. What's that? Stays on your record, yeah. So a lot of people walked away from their homes because they simply just couldn't afford it. Because they weren't educated. They were sold into a product that they didn't understand. And what the sad thing about it is that the loan officers and the banks and the lenders, they didn't really explain it. So now, since 2010 or 2012 and 13, things has changed. The safeguards is this. All reverse mortgages on HECMs, and HECM stands for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. Okay, that's what that stands for. And it's a reverse mortgage where it's federally insured by FHA and HUD. And all clients that are qualified to go into the reverse mortgage program, you have to go through counseling. The counselor will ask you a little series of questions, which normally takes about 30 minutes to an hour. It's done over the telephone. And they're going to ask you, do you know what a reverse mortgage is? Do you know how it works? Do you know what your interest rate is? Do you know that you're responsible to pay for property taxes and insurance? Do you know how much money you're getting? You have to understand that these loans are meant to age in place, to help you to pay off your mortgage, to help you create more cash flow. And that's what's important, creating cash flow every single month. So they have independent counseling. And also, they have capped interest rates. So I can't sell you a loan and say, your interest rate's going to be 20%. No, I can't do that. You have a cap interest rate. It protects you, protects your family, protects your heirs, and protects the lender. So all of our loans, not just mine, but the banks and the lenders and everywhere else you go to apply for a reverse mortgage, they have a capped interest rates. Capped interest rates, so for an example, they do a 5-year or a 5% increase for a capped interest rate. So let's say, for an example, it's 6%. What's 5% on top of that is 11. You can't go past 11%. Doesn't matter what your property value is or what your loan amount is, your interest rate is capped. It will never exceed that 1%. Never exceed that. How many of you in here remember back in the day when interest rates were about 18%? Yeah, I remember selling those. And unfortunately, it was tough. It was tough, because people back then, they were having a hard time staying in their home, paying off credit card debt. They were behind on their mortgage payments. So for us to fix that, we had to put them into a, what we call it back then, a subprime loan, which was high interest rates. They still had to make the mortgage payment, but they're like, I'll take it. I want to keep my house. Reverse mortgages are totally different. Reverse mortgages, they have a capped interest rate where you don't make a payment, and that your interest rate can never exceed a certain percent. And it says that right on your disclosures. Full disclosure cost. All of our loans, well, any loans, again, banks or lenders, any lender that you apply for, get a reverse mortgage, by law, they have to disclose all closing costs to you. We're talking about origination fee. We're talking about mortgage insurance. We're talking about appraisal, title, notary, everything else. Credit report, it's all breaking down for you. And the counselor will go over that with you during that 30-minute to an hour phone call to make sure that you understand what the closing costs are. Okay? So every reverse mortgage goes through HUD counseling. You get educated on how the program works a little bit more, and hopefully the loan officer that helps you explains how the program works. Because they just want to verify that the loan officer did his job too. So, what is the eligibility requirements? Well, first of all, property. So you have to be owner occupied. You can't do a reverse mortgage on a second home or a rental property. You can't do that. Vacation home, you can't. It has to be owner occupied. Must be single family, 2 to 4 unit, or townhouse, condo. And how many manufactured homes do you think we have here in Washington State? A bunch, huh? Well, we do those too. Here's the thing, with manufactured homes, it has to be built after 1976. So 1976 we can do, and it has to be a double wide and not a single wide. So manufactured home, double wide, we can do it. And it has to be either on a permanent foundation or strapped, but fully secured. And again, we already talked about primary residence and existing mortgage. So if you have a mortgage on your home right now, we do have to pay that off. We can't go in a second position. We have to pay your existing mortgage, but that's the goal, is to eliminate the mortgage payment, to give you extra cash flow. And then of course, title. So title, here's the thing. So reverse mortgages, you still want title. We're not. We don't take your home. The bank doesn't own your home. Yours just like a regular loan. You're on title. You and your spouse could be on title. This is just a lien. This is all this is. Reverse mortgages are just a lien. That's it. Just like a traditional loan. You have a mortgage, that's on title. You make payments on it. Same thing with the reverse. Reversal shows up on title, even though it doesn't show up on your credit report because there's no mortgage payments, but it's on title. And if you don't pay it, if you don't pay your property taxes, what happens? Anybody know? What's that? Well, they go into foreclosure, right? Yeah, you get a knock on the door and say, hey, you didn't pay your property taxes. So reverse mortgages, what the thing of it is what they hope to have is that if you got to pay your property taxes. And so we do a full full-on financial assessment with you before you even move forward with the loan. We want to make sure that you qualify. So me as a loan officer or an advisor, I tell you, it's like, this is how this loan works. Based on your income, this is what you qualify for with the reverse. So we're paying off your existing mortgage, eliminating that payment. But I just want to let you know you're responsible for property taxes and insurance. That's very, very important. Now, if I was able to eliminate that mortgage payment, that should free up some cash flow to pay for property taxes, right? Hopefully. But some people use the money differently. And then, of course, HUD, it has to meet all HUD guidelines. So that means that all loans, reverse mortgages, we have to send an appraiser out to your home to make sure it's certified. Just like a traditional loan. The only difference is that since you want to age in place, we want to make sure that your safety, so you have railings, is your hot water tank strapped, do you have, if you're in a wheelchair, do you have access to your home with a ramp? you know, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that your gutters and roof, everything is all secured and good. But that's the same thing applies with a traditional loan. So HUD just wants to make sure that, hey, we're giving you this money based on your value of your property, there with no monthly mortgage payments at all. We want to make sure that you're able to keep safe in your home. Most importantly, no mold, because up here in Washington, we have a lot of mold. So types of HECMs. So we do have lots of different types of reverse mortgages. We have a HECM, a standard HECM, which is an FHA and federally insured program. You can also purchase a home, which a lot of people didn't know about this, but you can actually purchase a home using a reverse mortgage. So you take a reverse mortgage and you can purchase a home now with no monthly mortgage payments. We also have a proprietary product with the reverse mortgage, which means it gives you a higher loan amount, more money, and same safeguards, same protection, same everything, but it's on a fixed rate option, so lump sum. And I kind of go over that here in a minute. The other one that we just launched, and it's not just us, Washington State just got approved last year. You ready for this? Reverse second mortgage. What's a reverse second? Well, if you have a current mortgage right now and you have a very low rate, say 2.25%, maybe 2.375%, and let's say you have like maybe 5 more years, maybe 10 more years to pay it off, and you make good income, you're financially stable, you're all good, but you want to do a reverse second. You can't qualify for, like, let's say maybe a refinance. I mean, maybe you don't want to refinance, but you want to do a reverse second. You do a reverse second with no mortgage payments. And a lot of my clients who use that money to pay off credit card debt, maybe do home improvement, maybe purchase another property, maybe do an ADU. So there's a lot of different things that you can use with the reverse mortgage funds. It's totally up to you. No restrictions. And, you ready for this? Any proceeds that you get from a reverse mortgage loan is non-taxable. You don't get tax on it. IRS doesn't consider that as income. Okay, so they consider it as cash flow. Since it does not tax because you're not making payments on it because it doesn't go on your credit report. So again, with or using a reverse mortgage, you can pay off existing mortgage, you can renovate your home, you can do, which I have a lot of clients right now are doing right now, is delaying Social Security. They're in their, they want to wait till they turn 70, so in the meantime, they like, hey, I want to have some extra income. What can I do to get to extra income? Well, you have equity in your home. Why not, let's do a reverse while you delay your Social Security. We can do that, absolutely. So you can delay your Social Security. And here's another thing. If you have assets like 401k, IRA, CDs, or anything like that that you don't want to touch, which I guarantee you right now most people are dipping into their assets to pull money out. Because why? Anybody know? Cash flow. Exactly right. Cash flow. Because everything is getting expensive. They're not making that kind of money. So with the reverse, you can do that. With the reverse, we give you that money. It's non-taxable income. It does not affect your Social Security or Medicare. It will not affect that at all. So, to protect your assets, supplement your everyday expenses, create a lifetime income stream, and I'll kind of go over that in a second, pay off debt, basically just kind of help you in a better financial situation, give you a little bit more better cash. So, here comes the myths and the misconceptions that everyone wants to know about. Like, oh my gosh, the bank owns my home. This is, friends tell me like, oh my goodness, don't do a reverse mortgage. It's really bad for you. Well, every client that I talk to has a unique situation. We don't know everyone. Everyone has a different situation, right? So the bank does not take your home, okay? The only time the bank's or the lender is going to take your home is what? If you don't pay your property taxes, if you don't pay your insurance. Not only that, they can't foreclose on your home because, for one, they're going to call you and they're going to send you letters and say, hey, we noticed that you haven't paid your property taxes. So you got basically up to 12 months to make a decision what you want to do. You're going to have counselors going to be calling you. You're going to have people like me calling you and say, hey, what's going on? I noticed you haven't paid your property taxes. Are you okay? Do you need to refinance? You need more money? What's going on? Because the banks doesn't want your home. I don't want your home. We don't want it. It's because it's your home. It's your memories. The other thing too is if the borrower passes away and their spouse, do they have to leave the house too? I get that a lot. So when we're talking to couples and one passes away, what happens to the other one? What happens to the spouse? Can she or he still live there? Well, absolutely. Because both of you are on title, you're on the loan. If one of you passes away, hey, guess what? You don't have to pay that loan back because you're on title, you're on the loan. Again, no mortgage payments. Now, what happens is, though, what happens if spouse passes away? What happens to the income? Yeah, usually drops. So that might be the time like you call and say, hey, we need to refinance because my husband or wife just passed away. I need to do something. What can I do? I need extra income now. So we can refinance. There's no prepaid penalties on a reverse mortgage. You can refinance this anytime. Once you take it out, keep it for 12 months. After 12 months, since there's no mortgage payments, you need more money, we can do that. But let me ask you this. What happens every time you refinance your home? What happens? What's that? Yeah, there's fees involved. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, but what else happens? Sometimes, depends. Depends on when you refinance. There we go. That's important. Because every time you refinance, you have to borrow more, right? Because you still have to pay off that loan that you originally take out, which means that your balance of your loan is going to increase because you're borrowing more money, which means that your property value is going to decrease a little bit because you're borrowing more money. So I always tell my clients this. I said, and when I walk into them and I have a face-to-face conversation, I said, why are you looking into a reverse mortgage today? What's important to you? Is it more income? Is it pay off debt? Is it home improvement? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your goals? Because in some instances, it could be short-term goals or it could be long-term goals. It depends. You can tell me and say, hey, Charles, I want to take out a reverse mortgage and I want to keep it for 5 years and sell my house and downsize. Okay. We can help you out with that. And again, there's no restrictions on how you use the money. So as long as there's equity in the home, and what I do with my clients, every 12 months, I do a financial assessment and a home property valuation to make sure that they're on track. They're on track to increase in their property values. Next thing here they say is, I will lose my house if I use up all my funds. That's not true. So again, it's a reverse mortgage. There's to be a balance of yes, but you're not going to lose your home because you have a balance. Because again, there's no mortgage payments. And then the lender receives any money left over when the home is sold. That is incorrect. So if you pass, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I have to say this and be blunt about it. If you pass away, what happens to the house? Your kids will come in, right? Kids will come in and say, well, either want the house or they sell the house. Now, most of my clients, they talk to me and they say, you know what? My kids they're squared off. They don't want my house. They really don't want my house. And, they're good. They're making money. They'll just get whatever they have in my checking account, my savings accounts, or my assets. They'll get that. But I don't really, they don't really care about my house. And some clients, I talk to, they say, well, I do want to leave the house to them. Great, leave the house to them. My recommendation is get a will. Get a will in place, do an estate planning, make sure. So I always sit down and talk to them about that, talk about estate planning. Because the reverse mortgages, again, it's not a last resort anymore because you can use that reverse mortgage funds to do whatever you want with. So let's go over the cost. So the HECM loan cost, yes, there is cost involved in HECMs. But just like any other loan out there are going to be costs involved. We're talking about, title fees, notary fees, appraisal fees, recording fees, bathroom tissue fees, crying tissue fees. I mean, it's just all of that. And it's all included in the loan. The only thing that's not included in the loan is your counseling fee. That counseling fee ranges between $100 to $200. That's a one-time only out-of-pocket expense if you decide to move forward with the loan. So as soon as the loan officer explains everything to you, explains everything correctly to you, you get the proposal packet in front of you, and he or she walks you through it, and you want to move forward. Inside that packet, there will be a list of counselors provided with telephone numbers. You call them, and they charge you $100 to $200. You get us a counseling certificate showing us that you completed the counseling, and it's good for almost 6 months. That's how we move forward with the loan. Not just me, but with any lender. You have to go through counseling to make this loan work. The other thing that's most expensive fee, though, on this, on reverse mortgages, because I hear a lot of clients say, oh my God, that's so expensive. Oh my gosh, $20,000, $25,000 for fees? Are you kidding? Well, yeah, it is expensive, but the reason why it's so expensive is because the insurance. HUD and FHA is required to have insurance on these loans. I can't change that fee. My manager can't change that fee. The bank can't change that fee. That fee is set by the HUD. Typically, it is 2% of the purchase price or property value. That's a one-time fee up front, and it's built into the loan. So you don't have to pay out of pocket, it's built into the loan. Then after that, then there's a 0.5% fee every year, annually, that gets added on to, and that's called insurance. It's not homeowners insurance, this is mortgage insurance. And I always tell my clients this, I said, this is gonna be the best insurance that you'll have on your loan, on your house too. And the reason for that is because you're protected from any default. Anything happens to you, you don't have to worry about paying more than what the home is worth. Your kids come in, property's upside down, let's say the property value plummeted, and there's a balance on there, the kids don't have to pay the difference. They're protected. Insurance covers that. That is one of the safeguards that is now in these days are in place. They didn't have that back then. And so disbursements. So I get a lot of questions on this here. How does a reverse mortgage loan proceeds get dispersed? Well, we have several options actually. So reverse mortgage, you can receive monthly payout. Again, these are non-taxable. So once the loan closes, if you say, Charles, I would like to get $800 more into my account every single month. Okay, we can set that up for you. It'd be like your Social Security, it'd be like your pension, it goes right into your checking account. It's all set up. The other one is growing line of credit. How many of you have a savings account? Raise your hand. How many of you have a savings account? Okay. And how many of you have gone down there to your bank and what do they charge interest on your savings account? Yeah. Well, how much of the interest is added onto your savings account? There we go. Do you know what the percentage is? 3.25, 1.5, 2, 3.25, right? Okay. Can you make money on that, on your savings account? Not much, right? Oh, yeah, there we go. Yes. So with reverse mortgage, we have a feature, it's a thing called a line of credit. It's like a HELOC, but with no mortgage payments. And built into the reverse mortgage, and reverse mortgage is the only ones that have this. So if you go down to the bank right now, you said, I want to get a HELOC, and I want to have a growth rate feature built in, they're going to look at you like, what? We don't offer that. You're talking about a reverse mortgage. Yeah, we don't do that. Reverse mortgages line of credit is 96% of my clients use because it's a line of credit that you can pull funds out whatever you want. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you have a $100,000 line of credit reverse that's available to you that you can use whatever you want. But you say, no, Charles, I don't want to take out all 100,000. I just want to use 20,000 of it. So you take out 20,000. So now you have $80,000 in your line of credit that's available to you. You're not even touching, right? Well, guess what happens to that line of credit? It grows because it has a growth rate feature built in, and how that rate differs between the interest rate and the growth rate feature is by 0.5%. So for an example, your interest rate on the loan is 6%, but your line of credit growth rate is 6.5%, because that mortgage insurance is the protection, so it gets a 0.5% added on to the additional interest rate. So your line of credit every single month compounds interest every single month. It just continues to grow, continues to grow. That way you have access to funds when you need it the most. That's non-taxable, and again, it doesn't affect your Social Security or Medicare and does not go on your credit report. And you only get charged on what you use. So you pull out $20,000, you only get charged for the $20,000. And what do you mean by charge is by interest. that line of credit that you get charged on, you don't get charged on that. The only time you get tax deductible on this is when you sell your home. When you sell your home, and that's it, and you pay off that loan, then you get right off the interest on it. So the growth rate feature is huge on a lot of my clients. They love it because it helps them cover daily expenses, covers their property taxes, covers their premium, covers their insurance, covers a lot of different stuff when they need it the most. And then you can do the combination of all three if you want. And there's, of course, there's a lump sum option, which I would not recommend, because once you get $100,000 in your checking account, guess what happens? We all get excited, and I want to do home improvements now, and I want to take a trip, and all of a sudden that's gone. And then you got to refinance to get more money. So my recommendation, my advice, do the line of credit if it's available for you, because that's going to where it compounds and you'll earn more money and more cash later on. All right, so this one. So a couple more slides left here, then I'm all done. These I want to give you some samples what we did with this client. This is a client of mine, and this we did this client last year. Of course, that's not their real name, so I had to change that. But the numbers were all accurate. So, and I know it's kind of hard to read back there, so I'll kind of say it. So, Mr. and Mrs. Straight, we got ages 82 and 76. Now, again, to qualify for reverse mortgage, they go off by the age, the property value, and the interest rate. We don't care about credit score. We don't care about that. So if you have an 800 credit score, congratulations, you worked hard for that. But reverse mortgages, they don't care about that. So this couple here, their total combined income is $6,367 a month. They have assets worth over $700,000. This is in the state of Washington. Their home value is at $1.6 million. And by the way, it's a log home. We can do log homes too. Existing mortgage. So they have a mortgage. And now again, look at the age, 82 and 76. They have an existing mortgage of $243,000 and they pay $2,400 a month. That's not including taxes and insurance. Then they have credit card debt of $15,000 and their monthly payments on that is $2,500 a month. What is that combined total, which are 24 and 25? Can someone do the math for me? How much is that? How much is that a month between $2,482 and $2,500? What does those two add up to? What's that? There we go. Almost $5,000 a month that they're paying out. And what's their total income? Yeah. Do you think they qualify for a refinance if they went down to the bank? Probably not, right? Because their debt-to-income ratio is too high. With reverse mortgage, we don't care about debt-to-income ratio. Debt-to-income ratio is how much money you coming in, what's your total debt, and what's going out. Reverse mortgages, we don't care about that. Reverse mortgages, all we care about how much money is left over. Because again, no mortgage payments. So the client goal is this: eliminate monthly mortgage payment, access to additional funds for in-home care. Now, Sarah is going to come up here in a minute, and she's going to explain to you what in-home care service is and what she does. But this client right here, what they did was they took some money out, and we were able to pay off their existing mortgage and pay off their credit card debt, save them over $5,000 a month. How much is that per year? $60,000. Right there in the first 12 months, $60,000 a year. So what did we do with the reverse mortgage? Well, based on their age, based on their property value, based on the interest rate, FHA gave them $642,000. Closing cost, $28,000. Wow, that's huge, huh? Wow, that's built into the loan. Funds to use to pay off the mortgage is $252,915. So they had a mortgage, we had to pay that off. So total usage at closing is $281,000. What I mean by that is you take your funds to use to pay off the existing mortgage, $252,000, plus the closing cost. So the loan is $281,076. That's what they used so far. But guess what? The loan amount is of $642,000, right? So they wanted lump sum at closing. So after 3 days of closing, after they signed their loan documents, we're able to deposit $360,000 into their account. Tax-free, by the way. No mortgage payments. Credit card debt gone. So what that did for them, well, immediate cash, reduced monthly expenses, secure the home during retirement, and guess what? We didn't have to touch their assets, $700,000. We didn't have to worry about it. We didn't have to touch that. So basically, his comment was this. This refinance allowed me to take care of my wife at home without worrying about any monthly mortgage payment and saving over $714,000. It gave us peace of mind and control over our future. That's just one example. And with this one's very close to me because the wife, she was struggling big time, so they couldn't move, they couldn't sell. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to put an assisted living home. They wanted to age in place at home. This one here, same thing. This is another example. This is another client of mine. Of course, different last name. But she's 84. Her income is $2,700 a month, so $2,795. Home value at $423,000. Manufactured home. We were able to pay off $175,000 on a mortgage, which was eliminating their $1,400 monthly mortgage payment. That again, not including taxes, insurance. Then they have a credit card debt of about $30,000. Not bad, but she still pays out $650. So FHA says, you know what? Based on her age and the property value, we're going to give her $224,000. Closing costs of roughly about $20,000. Funds to pay off the mortgage is $175,000. And with the $175,000 plus the $20,000, we come up to $196,000. And then she has a line of credit that's available to her after the loan closes, $28,000. So what we did for her was eliminate the mortgage payment, $1,400. She has immediate access in a form of line of credit that's available for her, which she said she didn't want to touch. And that's $28,000 because she believed in the growth rate feature that's built into the loan. So it reduces monthly expenses, secure home during the retirement, and she has a line of credit that grows annually based on interest rate that could reach $37,000 if she didn't touch it within the next 5 years. So would that help her? Give her, eliminate that mortgage payment, create more cash flow. Remember, 27, look at the income, look at her mortgage payment. So after each month you pay that mortgage payment, she's hardly left only, what, $1,300, $1,400 left. That's it. That's hard to make a payment every single month, right? So we're able to give her some extra cash. And my last slide, this one here is a purchase. Because a lot of people don't understand that you can actually purchase a home using a reverse mortgage. So 68 years old, he lived in Oregon. His income was only $3,200 a month. He goes, man, you know, Charles, I want to sell my house in Oregon. I want to move to Washington State and Yelm. So he sold his home for $350,000. But he goes, you know what, Charles, I love this new home. It's purchase price, they're selling it, the realtor's selling it for $450,000. I don't know if I can qualify because my income is only $3,200 a month. And I said, well, let me just take a look into it and see what we can do for you. Well, guess what? We're able to give him, based on his age and the purchase price of $450,000, we're able to give him $168,000. Closing costs roughly about $20,000. And to purchase the home, he has to bring in at $311,000 at closing. But keep in mind, he didn't have to use all of his funds, all of his money from the sale to purchase a home. The FHA gave him $168,000, which in return, he reserved more. He reserved over $40,000 in cash and from their sale. Use that as a line of credit if you wanted to, and he was able to upsize and with no mortgage payment, as long as he takes care of his property taxes and insurance. That's my last slide, but I wanted to say this is that reverse mortgages has changed over the years. They're more modernized now. They'll have more safeguards, more protections in place, and it's all about you. It's about what you want, what your goals are. No one's going to come in and take your home unless you don't pay your property taxes or your insurance. You have so much safeguards and protections in place. And again, reverse mortgages, they're non-taxable, doesn't affect your Social Security, doesn't affect your Medicare. And that's pretty much sums it all up. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, what if you go through this process and you get sued, and the person suing you has a judgment, does that become a lien on your property?
So the question is, if somebody's suing you, so if you have a reverse mortgage already in place, all right, and somebody's suing you, and after the reverse mortgage is in place, so somebody's suing you and then puts a lien on title, is that right? Or a judgment? So how that works later on is if you try to refinance your home later on down the road, that lien's going to show up on title. It doesn't matter what you do with the reverse or not, or if you're trying to sell your house, because they're going to pull title. And what's going to happen is that lien is going to, or that judgment is going to show on title, and that has to be paid off, no matter what. And unfortunately, that hurts a lot of people right now because I do have some cases like that where they don't know that there's a judgment against them that shows up on title. Roofers, for example, roofing companies, home improvement companies, they do that. I have one right now, it's a water filtration system. They put a $14,000 lien on title. The guy, my client didn't know about it. He wanted to do a reverse mortgage, we pulled title, and unfortunately there was a $14,000 lien that has to be paid off or release that lien so that the creditor or the company would say, okay, well, we'll go ahead and release it so you can do the refinance, and then as long as there's an agreement between the client and the company. But in a lot of cases, that's really hard, because when people call me to refinance or purchase a home, they really wanted to call me because they want to create more cash flow. So to answer your question, sir, yes, they has to be paid off or working an agreement to where they can release that for you, making a payment arrangement. Yep. Any other questions? What a quiet crowd. My goodness. Hey, at least the clicker work, right? All right, so what I like to do is I want to, and I appreciate your time, I have Sarah Ketter. She's coming up here from Senior Helpers. She's amazing. She works hard at what she does. She has an amazing team. And so welcome, Sarah.
Now that these two scared you all and made you fearful of what life is going to look like, I get to tell you the fun stuff. So a little bit about me. My name is Sarah Ketter. I own a company called Senior Helpers. We do in-home senior care. And what that means is I have CNAs, home care aides that can come into the home, and we can help you do anything that is necessary to stay in your own home as long as possible. And from the show of hands earlier, it's like almost all of you own a home. You want to stay there, and that's the goal. My goal is never to have a caregiver come in and take over and tell you how things are going to be, which I know is a fear for a lot of the seniors that I have talked to. So, who's running the slideshow? Oh, just kidding. I was waiting for... See, Charles didn't finish. That's the problem. If you had just finished your slideshow. I'm just kidding. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about aging in place, safety, and how Senior Helpers does all of those things. Senior Helpers, as a company, has been around since 2002. We are a franchise based out of Baltimore, Maryland. And I like to inform everybody that while we're a franchise, I hate that word. I hate that word because this business of Senior Helpers Olympia is mine. I run it. I do the day-to-day. It is my blood, sweat, and tears, for lack of any other word. But the CEO of our company actually is incredibly invested in what all of us do. He actually started the company because he had to find care for a loved one, didn't find anything that he liked, because back in the day it was just shove everybody into a nursing home, forget about them, and then they die and you take all their money and that's it. So he and a friend started Senior Helpers, and our whole goal of Senior Helpers is to provide the best care and change what senior care looks like. So let's talk about it a little bit. The best way to get started is this is the life cycle of any senior. you have a fall or an injury, you end up in the hospital, you get charged, you go to discharged, you go to skilled nursing, you get discharged from there. Maybe you'll get some home health, they'll discharge you, and then it just goes round and round and round. So my goal is to end after you're discharged from home health, which home health does the medical things when you come home from a procedure, where they'll do wound care, they can make sure you provided the medications and stuff like that. We can do those things too, but then we can stay with you in the long term. The 6 to 8 weeks of recovery after a knee replacement, a shoulder replacement, that's where we come in and make sure that you're transitioning back to your normal safely. So we actually have been published in 2 different white papers. So those of you who are techie and want to scan the QR code, this is a super cool one. Just talking about how we have a proprietary tool that we call Life Profile. And that's how we assess any senior when we come into your home. There are about 144 different safety risks that we assess when we come into the home. So I'm going to throw Charles under the bus. I go to Charles's house, and the moment that I pull up to Charles' house, the first thing that I'm going to do is see what his driveway looks like. What does the entryway to his home look like? And if I pull up to Charles's and he has a very steep driveway and his mailbox is at the bottom, what do you think is going to happen in the winter when there's moss on the ground, it gets icy, and Charles goes to go get his mail? You're going to fall, and you're going to start that whole continuum that I shared at the beginning. So I then can say, hey, I can have a caregiver pop over, 5 minutes. They can grab your mail, bring it into you. That'll keep you from falling, having those kind of risks, especially if Charles just had, say, a knee replacement. You're trying to walk down your steep driveway to get the mail in ice. You're definitely ending up in the hospital, sorry. You're going to need me. So there are over 3.5 million potentially preventable adult hospitalizations that occur each year in the United States. My goal is to eliminate as many of them as we possibly can. And thankfully, with the education that my caregivers receive and the extra training that Senior Helpers provides, we actually have been able, even in my own office, to prevent a lot of hospitalizations. We have been able to, just in knowing our clients' baseline, we've noticed, hey, they're acting really off today. I think they might have a UTI. So we let their family know. You can go to Walgreens, you can get little test strips. Oh, you have a UTI? Great. Call my doctor. Hey, my dad has a UTI. Can we get some antibiotics? Done. That keeps him out of the hospital. Easy. So with our life profile and the 144 risks that we go through, we have better outcomes of our senior care because we're analyzing the things throughout the home. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about the things we look at. We have improved care models. It provides us with a deeper care plan than just coming in and saying, Charles just is recovering from knee replacement and he's going to need someone to cook for him, to clean for him, and get his mail. That's it. We're leaving. We'll be there for 3 hours a day. What happens to the other 21 hours in the day? So we try to figure out and make a very robust care plan so that those things are all taken care of, and Charles is able to rest and recover from his knee replacement safer, having had all of these things taken care of for him. And then in that, because we provide this kind of care, we have increased acquisition, and the biggest part is our clients stay with us for a long time. We build relationships with our clients. We stay with them and keep them, a lot of them, through end of life. The 5 key outcome areas from doing this kind of a assessment is we go through the safety risks. So I mentioned I'd come back and I'd talk to you guys a little bit more about the safety risks. So again, show up at Charles's house, flat driveway, but he has concrete stairs going up to his house and no railing. Same situation. He has a very small doorstep with a screen door and the storm door, and he has to stand on the very edge of his concrete stairs to open the screen door and then to open the storm door. How about we just remove the screen door, and then you're able to just go into your home on the side of your house where you're not teetering on the edge, or make sure that you've got a railing. So I have been working with other companies, other people that I've met to build resources. So when I come in and say, oh, maybe let's put a grab bar over there, that will help you when you're getting in and out of the shower. Or hey, what if we take the box spring out and now it's so much easier for you to get in and out of bed? I have resources and I share them with all of my clients. I can't do it all, but my team of resources sure can. So we talk about these safety risks. They're very important. I'm not trying to change your life. I want to keep you safe. We also do medical condition monitoring. And like I said, we have been able to catch a lot of things because we keep our caregivers consistent in the home, so they get to know who you are and what your normal baseline is. If, Charles, I'm using you a lot, sorry. But if I showed up to Charles's house on a daily basis and he's like, hey, Sarah, good morning. That's his norm. I walk in one day and he's still in bed. I walk in, hey, Charles, how are you doing? I'm going to know something's wrong. If I have come to his house for 100 days of the year, and every morning I am greeted with Charles drinking his coffee, telling me good morning, and I show up and he's still in bed, something's not right. I'm going to check in. I'm going to figure out what might be going on. It might be just a matter of it's raining, it's disgusting, he doesn't want to go anywhere. Or he's not feeling good, or something more is going on. He forgot to take his medication last night, and now his blood pressure is really low, and whatever the case may be. I'm going to go check his medication box and go, Charles, you didn't take your medicine last night. Is that why you're feeling kind of gross? All right, well, let's get your meds and check your blood pressure and check, whatever other things he is on and dealing with so that we can make sure that he's good. We also focus a lot on independence. Yes, I'm going to come in, and if Charles is still in bed, I'm going to worry about him and ask him questions. But if I come in, he's laying in bed, and he's like, I just didn't feel like getting up today. Cool, stay in bed. I'm going to go do the things that I know that you still need to have done. You're still allowed to live your life and stay in bed if you want to. Or, if we're cleaning, I love to share the story. I had a client. She lived to be 105 years old. And she was the coolest lady. I loved visiting her. I loved hearing her stories. But she wanted to still clean her home. So the caregivers would just be alongside of her and they'll lift the toaster. She'll wipe under it. She was very big on polishing her faucets. So she taught all my staff, and me included, how if you use furniture polish, you just put 3 drops into your sink of hot water, and then use a cloth and you polish your faucets, and it kept it from getting stained and fingerprinted and all of these things. And I was like, I'm never going to do that, but for you, we will clean your faucets. Great. But that's what she wanted. It's her home. She's allowed to be independent. We are allowed to let her have the things that she wants. And then quality of life, another great story. I had a client who was former military. He moved to Montesano area with his granddaughter. Loved going fishing. Couldn't get down to a river anymore. So he just sat in a chair in his granddaughter's living room and watched, fishing shows and all the competition fishing and all those things, and was like, man, this super sucks. I want to be fishing. So my caregiver said, this is dumb. We're going to go. So she said, where are your fishing rods? And he was like, oh, they're in my garage, or in, my granddaughter's garage in the corner. She let me keep them, but I can't get anywhere. And my caregiver goes, tough, we're going. She drove a minivan with a sliding back door. So she found in Elma area where you could park on a bridge and he could fish from her minivan in the back seat. They could go in the rain. They could go when it was nice out. It didn't matter. He didn't have to get down to the river, but he was still able to go fishing. How do you think his quality of life improved? He went from sitting in a living room chair staring at a TV every day, all day, to now doing the one thing he loved to do. And last but not least, we focus on caregiver support. We want to not only help our clients, but we help our families. We are giving our families peace of mind that their loved one is being taken care of so that they can still be parents, grandparents, go to their kids' sports if they feel like they can't leave someone alone. They can still enjoy their lives and live their lives knowing that their loved ones are taken care of. To me, that's a priceless thing. My grandma had caregivers that came in, and we always laughed at her because she would have to clean the house before they came in to clean her house. But because of their support, she was able to stay at home and live her life until it was necessary for her to be in a medical situation. But the resources that we had, we knew my dad living next door, he would go visit her every morning. He would have a cup of coffee. He would read the newspaper. He would chat with her for about an hour, and then he would leave. But he knew when that caregiver came in that she was good to go. He got to spend his time with her that day. She wasn't, going to be on her own and be staring at a TV watching Little House on the Prairie, which was her favorite. Oh, so the core I thought the remote wasn't going to work. So the core services that we offer, number one, socialization. Personal care, showering, bathing, obviously same thing, but trust me, very different because there's different options. Helping somebody get dressed, helping them in and out of the bathroom, on and off the toilet, that kind of thing. General errands, we can do grocery shopping. We can go pick up your medications. We can take you to and from appointments, that kind of thing. Light housekeeping, appointment coordination, transportation coordination, whether we're driving you or we're taking you on a public transport. Medication reminders, meal assistance, and literally anything under the sun that you need to stay at home other than mowing your lawn. Sorry, we can't do that. We do have specialized care. We specialize in Parkinson's care, and we specialize in dementia. We also have a flex home program. So we are not like most home care companies in that we charge you have to do 4 hours, you have to do 6 hours, you have to do 8 hours. That doesn't matter to me because I realize after Charles's knee surgery, he doesn't need me to be there for 8 hours. He needs me to be there to make sure he's had something to eat, he can access his medication, fill up his Stanley so he can have water for the rest of the day. We can leave. So I have Flex Home program where we can come in for 5 minutes and say, hey, Dennis, have you taken your medication today? Yep. All right. Have a good day. Sign the log for the doctor. Done. And we leave. We can go in to help somebody put on TED hoses, the compression socks, because sometimes they're really hard to put on. Again, pop in for 5 minutes, help you get them on, come back in the evening, help you take them off, whatever that looks like, and we can leave. And we go all the way up to we can provide 24-hour care. So it just depends on what the need is. I like to meet my clients where they are. I'm not trying to sell you a service. I'm trying to sell you a quality of life. I want you to have a good life. And if by me coming in for 5 minutes is going to help you stay that way, that's all you need right now. And that's okay. So I talked a little bit about life profile. When I do my life profile, I actually use an iPad, and we come in, and while we're talking, I have you walk me around your home, show me where the laundry is, how easy it is for you to access your laundry, how easy it is for you to get in and out of bed, all of the things. And at the end, it will provide me this kind of scoring thermometer. And when it's in the red, this one, for example, says 10, you have an 80% chance of being hospitalized in the next 6 months because of the risks in your home. So our goal is to obviously get you over to the green where you're less likely to end up in the hospital. This is all scientifically proven. I promise you can look it up. If you Google life profile, you can learn all about it. And so we've created this so that we can show our families, these are the things that we're worried about. And I'll gauge them when I first come into the home, and then I go back 2 weeks after having a caregiver in the home and do it again. I want to see with the improvement of having a caregiver in the home, what has changed and where are we at now on this thermometer. So with our better assessments and our better care plans, we obviously are going to have better outcomes. So we significantly lower the risk of future hospitalizations by using this tool. We build a network of support with incorporating the family and the community services, which I mentioned. I'm working on building a sheet that I put in with my paperwork. That's who is a good general contractor, who can come in and be just a handyman, great plumbers, all of the things anybody could want that are a trusted resource, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who you don't know until you need it. And then we help seniors remain safely in the comfort of familiar surroundings while enjoying a fulfilling life. We want everyone to maintain their independence as much as humanly possible with the little bit of support from a caregiver. I talked about, we do dementia. All of our caregivers are trained on our program that we call Senior GEMS. We identify every level of dementia as a gem, because everyone still has something good in them, even if it's at the end of life. And we call that a pearl, because that grain of sand inside of a pearl is still a person. So we don't treat our dementia patients like just a body. They are a human. They all have feelings. And we have learned different things that we can do at each stage of dementia to keep everything going as much as we can as they continue through the stages of dementia. So this is the program that we use. And if you're interested in the dementia information, the woman who designed this program, her name is Teepa Snow, and we have worked in conjunction with her at Senior Helpers for, it seems like a million years, but she is an occupational therapist who designed this program, and she's amazing, and her videos on YouTube, phenomenal. If you want to know anything about dementia, Teepa Snow, YouTube, you'll see it all. I will be honest, she is very honest and open. She does cuss in some of her videos, if that matters, but she's demonstrating what a dementia patient looks like. And if you've ever seen someone with dementia, they have no filter, and there's a reason for that, and she'll tell you all about it. Again, with our Parkinson's care, we have different things that we train all of our caregivers on so that they are able to help Parkinson's patient be able to live their best life. I'm a huge advocate for Parkinson's. I had a really good friend who moved to Medford, Oregon. I helped him educate his friends and other people within his community about Parkinson's and why he behaved the way that he did. He had a lot of people concerned that he was just mean all the time. But one of his biggest symptoms was he had a frozen face and couldn't make facial expressions. So people were like, gosh, he's always so mean. So I made him a little card that was like, I'm not mean. I'm actually really happy. But my face doesn't allow me to make the same facial expressions that you do. And so he passed those out, and people suddenly were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I judged you. And we're able to rebuild relationships. So I'm huge into it, and I love that guy. He's my friend on Facebook, so I can still stay in touch with him. And then we can deliver care to services, or deliver care anywhere. We actually have a client in the hospital right now, and we go in and we stay with her because her kids still need to work, but they need to know what's going on in the hospital. What is the doctor saying needs to be done? What medications is she on? What are they recommending is the next stage, etc. Skilled nursing. We can go in while they're doing physical therapy in the skilled nursing center so that when they go home, we can help them with those exercises to stay strong as they're improving at home. And then again, apartments, assisted living, your own personal home, we can go to any of those places. And during COVID, that was super beneficial, by the way. We were the only ones that could go in places, so we will go anywhere. And then benefits to seniors. It's convenient, it's flexible, it fits a lifestyle, and it'll fit your budget because you don't have to pay for 4 hours of care or 6 hours of care, whatever somebody's minimum is. And again, we have no minimum hours, and our services are really flexible. And our services help patients to live healthier, safer, and with ease in their home where you all want to be. This goes over our Senior Helpers values. We like to lead with integrity without compromise. We want to improve the quality of life. We are huge on open and effective communication, not just with our clients and our families, but even with our caregivers. We want them to be able to come to us if they have concerns about themselves and their life, because as the owner of this business, why would any of my caregivers want to go care for a senior if they didn't feel like someone cared about them? So I want my caregivers and my staff to all know that I care about them as much as they care about my families. We always have a positive attitude. If we go into a house, I walk into Charles's door and I'm like, hey. Charles is going to go, you can just go home. I don't want you here today. You know, even on that rough day, if he's still laying in bed, I walked in and was just like, sup? He's not going to care. You want to walk in and give somebody, you know, leave your things at the door and be positive and give that person something to smile about. There's continuous advancement in my company. I now have 5 caregivers that are in my office. So they can provide care, but they also help in the office. So as I'm growing, so are people's careers. And recent news that Charles doesn't know about, and I'm super excited, I just got awarded a grant, and I'm going to be offering continuing education to all my caregivers so they can advance and get a higher license than what they're at right now. So I'm always trying to do things like that for them because, again, I wouldn't have a business without them. And then we celebrate life. I actually have a 3-ring binder that sits in my office of the obituaries of every single client that we have cared for. And oftentimes I'll walk through the hallway and somebody will be looking at it, just remembering the memories that we made with our clients. And, you know, we've gone to their funerals and we've spent time with their families after they have passed. And it's important for us to remember who they are, what they, you know, the life that they lived and the memories that they made with their families and their added on family of senior helpers. So we celebrate that. We cover a huge area. Nationally, we have over 300 offices. We are also in Australia and Canada. But for my area, I basically cover Mason, Lewis, Thurston, Grays Harbor counties. I also take care of clients out all the way to Ocean Shores. I provide care for veterans. So if you have a VA connection, you can get services and the VA will pay for them. I also take long-term care insurance. So I'm doing anything that I can to try to make sure that people are being taken care of in the areas that they are in. And that's all that I got for you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. So for my services, they're either private pay, long-term care insurance, or the VA. Yeah. It will be. I hate talking about this, but I'm going to be honest because I always am. The way that WA Cares is set up from my side of everything is it may cover 2 months of care for someone. There won't be a lot there. I would honestly look into private policies if that's something that you're thinking about doing. It will cover a lot more. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And if you want more information, I know really good companies that some of my clients use that work very well with me and other home care companies, just for that knowledge. Susan, thank you for the name tag. Now I don't have to just be like you. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Uh-huh. Smart decisions. It's a good one to have for sure. So the best way to go about it is I can come and meet with you when you feel like maybe you could use some help, and figure out if I'm the right senior care person for you, because people have different opinions, and if I'm not the right person, I'll give you more resources so you've got the right person. And then you will call your long-term care insurance and say, I want to use my insurance policy. What do you need from me? And typically those companies will reach out to me because then they need to have like a W-9 from me. They want a copy of my business license. They want to make sure I'm a legit person that they're paying. And then we get it all together. And depending on your policy, sometimes there are, you have to pay out of pocket for 90 days and then it'll kick in or whatever. So maybe like now would be a good time for you to call them if you don't know and figure out how your policy works so that you're prepared for that. Because if you know that, say, you're going in to have a knee replacement or something, it would be good to get those 90 days going before you need it so that it's paying for your care when you are down and out for those weeks recovering from a surgery. Does that answer your question? Okay. The biggest part is for you to know exactly what your policy looks like so that you know when and how to get it started. And if you think that you want to have somebody coming in for 3 months before a procedure so that you can get to know them, show them around the house, show them your whatever, and then your long-term care will kick in, it's beneficial depending on how you feel about having somebody in your home. If you're like, nope, I trust Sarah and her caregivers are going to be great, I'll start from day one of needing care, that's okay too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you as a resident of Washington State, I don't know how it works federally because I know Washington State. You have the choice of anything when it comes medical. You can choose to leave a hospital if you feel like they're not taking care of you like you should. You have a choice of who provides your care. You have a choice of, if you're in assisted living, you have a choice of asking a home care company to come in and take care of you. It is all up to the patient themselves.
You mentioned that you may have resources as far as types of policies that your clients have, obviously, that might be appropriate for others. Do you have that information available, or is that something that we would contact you to discuss?
Contact me to discuss it, just because I can give you names of good companies that work well with me. I don't have personal experience from the patient side of it, but I know there's a couple that I'd be like, please don't use them because they're really hard for me to work with, and for the families it's been really hard to get them going to be able to use their policy. And then there's others that were super easy and they were like, yep, you've paid into this for 50 years, by all means, like, let's get this going for you. So just like anything else, there's good, there's interesting and fun, and I want to give the good ones. Yeah. Correct. Home care services are not medical, so medical insurance won't cover. Nope. Home care itself is not covered by insurance. Home health can be. Yeah, but home care is not. Yep. Home health can be. You want to check because sometimes they don't. No, because we do not do home health. Correct. Mhm. They are home care aides and CNAs. So yes, they're trained by the state and have state licenses. Mhm. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Yeah. Sure. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. That's why we put this together, for that exact scenario. We all kind of feed into each other, and we want to make sure that you're all aware of the options that are out there. It's not all a thing fits all. We're not put in a box. And so thankfully we have all connected so that we can make sure that we can have that circle of life. And again, like I said, and I know Charles will agree with this, is, we realize that we're not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. But if we're not the right person for you, we can give you others so that you can make sure whatever your needs are can be met in the way that you're most comfortable. So, yeah, we're not salespeople. We're actually really bad at that. We talk about it all the time. Charles and I are not great salespeople. Yeah, Susan. You absolutely can. Sure. My information is on the back of it, and you can share it with anybody you want. Absolutely. There's pens and nail files in the back, too, that have my phone number on it. So, and they're the best nail files because of that, because you can get into the... I'm just saying, as a woman, they're amazing nail files. Just saying. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, what city specifically? I don't know if anybody's in Port Townsend. So the best way. Okay, perfect. Yeah, send me an email and I'll see what I can find out. But also for anybody else, if you hop on the internet and just do seniorhelpers.com, there's a spot where you can go to locations and put in the zip code of who you know might need care, and then it'll tell you which office to call, which is a great resource. But feel free to email me too if you need to. Yes, sir. You are welcome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. This was great. Thank you. You are dismissed.